I'm relaxed. This is the podcast where I just relax into myself with what I decide to do and decide to talk about is all thought. No information. Just thought. Thought and that alone. I cannot do any more informational videos today. I am exhausted from all that. I am exhausted. I just did one video. You can check it out on my other podcast, The Vastness of Google. And of course, the thing is, it's like, how is this video different than the other ones? I mean, if I could filter videos on my channel, if I could put some videos in like one category, then other videos in another category in my videos tab, I think that I would. Maybe put a lock on it. Maybe put a lock on the personal stuff. I don't know. But YouTube doesn't design it that way. So I can only be as private as I can be. Because this is the Real Me podcast. If you want real authenticity from me, and if you want to hear my real stories of what's going on, you're in the right place. If you don't have to sit through and listen to this. Hence, the title is a very personal title, which is why not a whole lot of people will want to be listening to this. But if those who are interested will click on it, then that's what they will do. I cannot control how popular my videos get. Just is what it is. I can't control the outside world. That's why you shouldn't make a goal of gaining subscribers, because you can't control the outside world. That's just a fact. So, I'm saying this now, I'm going to probably put this in a post or something like that, but, I feel very, very proud of my podcast right now. Very proud of my Vastness of Google podcast. And this podcast is, as I've said in videos about it, it's a library. I mean, that's what it is, a library full of information that over time will be a lot of information. But I don't want to make it dry. It won't be dry. I mean, I just have a few points and I can just go so in depth with it. My astrology now is not surface level anymore. It is deep, rich astrology. And as somebody who has Mercury in Taurus, and somebody who thinks very, very simply about things, but with all my Gemini energy, I just... I'm allowed to be self-indulgent on this podcast. This is a self-indulgent podcast. And I am, because my North Node is in the sign of Taurus, which is feeling good about yourself and having a good sense of self-worth and knowing your value. And enjoying things, just doing things just out of like enjoyment, like doing what gives you pleasure, in life. And, I'm allowed to lean into that. So if you want to hear me be self-indulgent, then you're in the right place. So I'm going to be self-indulgent unapologetically. When I say that, I just have a lot of good things to say about my particular podcast with the information on there. That's what I'm going to say. It is a library. And it is a podcast that I take more seriously than others. More seriously than this one. This is just an extra podcast, and it always was that way. I've just been updating it more in the past. But now I've took Vastness Google take over. I would never put this podcast on Spotify. This is too personal, too real, too raw to put on Spotify. No. I wouldn't want myself and what I have to say up there. And thank goodness I started my podcast on Spotify when I did, because you can't really take down episodes or edit episodes. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't take episodes down and you can't edit them. So I said some things in one of my my Mercury and Pisces podcasts that I was like, ugh, I had to edit that out. Like, I talked about some inappropriate detail of myself dealing with OCD in there. I also gave a fact that was wrong about astrology, which I struggle to believe. So thank goodness, I think the timing is as good as it can get with putting it on Spotify. A month I start and a month later put it on there. So it's pretty good. I didn't wait years later to do it. Anyway, if I go off, then I go off. This podcast comes second. I put more time and energy into the other one. This is a relaxed podcast. I mean, sometimes I have notes with this. Sometimes I have things to look at. But sometimes it's just me talking. Just sitting here and talking. Just venting. So you want to hear the vent episodes, and this is the episode for that. And I give myself full permission to do that, as long as I'm being ethical to what I am doing. Because I have not been ethical in the past with naming people and doing all that. I've not been ethical. And I've refrained from that. And I'm becoming a better version of myself with that. Now, the other thing is, I've just decided to make all my videos that I do podcasts, because I want this podcast to have as many episodes as possible in it. Again, I don't want a small limited library. I want a huge library, but I will not be compulsive, and I will not treat it like work. Like, oh, I have to do this and I don't want to. That's the Scorpio South Node of, intensely sacrificing your own personal peace and your own personal well-being, just to get things done, just to be intense and not really value yourself enough to where you're taking your time and doing it when it feels right. That's part of the Taurus energy. And, last night I wasn't using it properly because I was, going to bed late because I had to, I was caught up in something, not using my Taurus North Node. Now, you could say to yourself, you could keep this all to yourself. Well, there's a story to that. And I talk about it in my Wounded Deleting podcast. I am not going to hold myself back. I'm not going to filter my content. Everything I do will be public from this point forward, and I will not produce anything that I wouldn't want to put out there. Like I don't do the pretend stuff anymore. I don't do that. And somebody suggested to me, somebody that I talked to suggested, why don't you make it for yourself? Well, I probably would. But my progressive moon's in Leo, and I want to express myself, and I want to be my authentic self. So this is me using my progressive moon in Leo, and I am aware of that. And also, I've deleted so many videos. So many private, unlisted videos of myself that I cannot even go into making any more private. I can't, because I've tainted that. I've ruined that. But that was the past, and I have a new perspective now, and that's kind of what I'm here to talk about in this podcast. We'll get to that later, but All the podcast episodes now are, or all the videos now podcasts, because I want to, all the information that I put in, I want to be able to listen to it on a podcast form. Like, I don't want it to be live stream. I don't want it to be presentation. Like, I want to keep it with the podcast. I want it to be consistent. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or any other day that I feel like it. So I have a schedule. I record only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, unless during the week I suddenly feel this inspiration to just make an episode, and I do it. This podcast is all when I feel like it. And I'm not going to deny myself what I feel like. There's a difference between doing something, like not acting on every bit of inspiration you have, because it will exhaust you and you just want to, relax and do something else, and just chill out and, do other things and not really do that podcast. Or, do that thing that you're inspired to do. Because sometimes we just want to do all these things, but it's just so much and we just are exhausted. Rest. Don't kill yourself over it. Now, the difference between that and difference between that and holding yourself back, holding in a feeling from expressing it. Like, it's different from that. And if I was on YouTube when I was little, I would find ways of making myself public. Of course, I wouldn't want to do that because I had my speech impediment at the time, and I wasn't aware. Like, oh my goodness gracious, there were so many videos on my channels, all my accounts, I've deleted. No, I'm not deleted. I've taken down. There's a difference. Because I don't want those up there anymore. I put those public videos up there because I was wounded. Because I wounded myself with deleting all those videos. That's why I put them up there in the first place. But now that I'm better and in a better place, I've taken them down. Because I care now. I care about my videos. I care about, like, back in 2025, I could have cared less about YouTube and my channel, everything like that. I was just going through the motions. That's how I was doing it. And I didn't put any thumbnails in my videos. I just, so, I'm kind of having a head list of what I want to talk about, which is why, I want to do those videos over. No, I'm keeping those videos up. Those are staying up, but I will be doing those videos on my podcast. I will be doing the sun through the signs, the moon through the signs, as soon as I get through Saturn through the signs, or if I suddenly wake up and then just have this inspiration to do one of those videos, I will do one of those videos, because anything goes except for the transits, because I want to film the thing for the collective and the thing for the signs, and it takes a lot of my energy to do both videos. So I can't do that, but once a week. And it's like, you try to cover every little thing that you want to cover, and it's like, there's just so much. You might as well just pick one thing and then just settle with that, which is the conclusion that I've came to. Is just picking one transit and focusing only on that one transit, and that is what works for me, because I can go as in depth as I want to with that. And of course, my astrology is now so in-depth that I can't do all of that. I would get exhausted halfway through it, and I wouldn't be able to do a full weekly transit. Like, I would not be able to do a weekly astrology video. No. No, it would be way too much prep, way too much, everything. It would be too much, and it would be 5 hours. So, no, that doesn't work for me. That's not sustainable. What I'm trying to do is Saturn's in Aries. So, one of the lessons of Saturn in Aries is, which I haven't talked about yet, relating to myself, which I'm going to bring in here. Saturn in Aries is about being yourself, like not letting the limitations of others dictate, what you don't want to do. Like, you being told that I can't have something and I can't do something. Well, no. Saturn in Aries says, get real with yourself and live a life according to your authentic, truth. And Saturn in Aries is about long-term authenticity, long-term truth. So what is for the long term? And in this case, it is this podcast and what I'm doing. What I'm trying to do is do something that is sustainable for the long term, which is why I only do a certain number of videos per week. When I start up at college in the fall, there will be less videos. But that's a while from now. But I will stick with my promise that I made to myself that I will do 3/4 things a week. On my Vastness of Google. I will stick to that because that's what I want to do. And if I'm doing it now and days go by and I don't produce episodes because I have the inspiration to, and that it's okay. I won't restrict myself in recording every single day. No. No. I won't do that. I just happen to have the inspiration to film a lot of it. So anyway, I'm going off. Tired of doing the videos today. So what was I saying? I was saying very, very clearly that and if you're watching this thinking you are not self-aware, why are you just spilling out this is the Real Me podcast. And this is where I do that. Okay? So, that's kind of the thing with this. So, if you want the informational stuff, and if you want, that, and if you don't want to listen to this, then you can go over to the Vastness of Google and listen to all those episodes if you are seeking that. Because I have a filter for a reason. I have it categorized for a reason. I don't want to mix the two together. Because just, yeah. So, I want to do these videos again. And I want to do them better, with more interest, with going deeper into them, because the sun, the moon, the ascendant, all those things are important in astrology, and I want to emphasize that in these videos. And I have the perspective, the good feelings, the the good attitude, feeling about life now that I didn't have the past 3.5 years of my life. The past 3.5 years of my life, from October of 2022 till January 2026, I was depressed. And if you watch my videos that I filmed in 2025, just know that. If you want to go back, by all means you can. But you're going to find that they are less deep. I'm less enthusiastic about what I'm talking about, but you can still watch them. They're still there. I will not take them down. I will not take them down, but I will do them again. In a different, so I mean, I just want to do that. That's all I can say. Now, anyway, getting to what I wanted to delve into today, with all that talking done. I put out a video when I got back from the hospital back in January of 2026 this year. And then I went through my whole story of the hospital. I gave you the full rundown. I won't blame myself because at that time I was at a very, very balanced place. And then this Mercury retrograde happened. It was like, oh my gosh, my life is just thrown out of balance. So I want to bring it back into balance. With what I'm doing now with videos and all that stuff. Like, it will not be what it was back in January, but it will be more balanced, or I'll try to make it more balanced. Hopefully I can. So basically, and by the way, on that Pluto through the signs video, I think that I forgot to turn the volume up on the podcast. Darn it. Dang it. But I'm not going to take it down. I've already put it on Spotify. I've already published it. I'm not doing it over. So it is what it is. Not the end of the world. It's my, guilt of that. Like, I should have remembered. I'm human. I forget. I forget. So this time I forgot because I was just so, it was so much. And I was, So anyway, when I filmed that video, I went through the whole story. And I may not repeat and regurgitate every little detail of that, but we'll see, because I don't remember every detail of it as well now that I did back then. So if you want the full story, go check out that video. And I will not make it part of this podcast because it is a video that I filmed, not a podcast that I recorded. I don't want to mix the two together. So, I want to break down this story bit by bit and just kind of tell you the whole thing. And warning about this video. Warning. I'm just going to give you a warning right here and right now. This is a very, very vulnerable podcast episode. Very vulnerable. I'm going to be revealing some things that I should not be revealing on other videos. That is very personal and inappropriate. So if you are uncomfortable with this, then you can get off and hop off. But if you're willing to just hear the authentic version of this, then here it is. I mean, I have to be real about this. I'm going to be real because I was about the voice that I had in my head. I was about my OCD that I did. The 2019 through 2025 podcast that I did on my progressed Saturn and Virgo. So, I'm going to go into it now. 2025 was a better year than 2024. Most of it was a good year. A better year, although I was only focused on buying Oracle decks instead of anything else that I was interested in. Like, that was my only interest now. Now it's just on the side and something to add into my life, not the whole thing of my life. That was a good year. For several reasons. There was a lot of good things about that year, but this is, I feel like it's already a better year, and just it will be a much better year. This year is a much better year. Like, I have never felt this good in my life for over 3 years. Over 3 years. And I think it's probably because I'm not eating any sugar, or I'm not cutting down my consumption of sugar. Back then I was drinking soda and I was drinking all this. And I'm going to get into some things in here. So, here it is. And I don't want to see the judgmental comments. I do not want to see the judgmental comments because I am very aware of what I am putting out. So, most of the year was good. Thanksgiving, good. Had a very, very great Thanksgiving with my family. That was all good. And then December happened. And my world turned upside down. December the 1st. Literally December the 1st. That's when I started noticing it. Try to cover up some of this because I just don't feel comfortable sharing it. And I don't want to be too revealing on this podcast. So I just... There are some things that I cannot share about this. Because it is too revealing. And too personal. And too inappropriate to put on public platform. But basically, I started having problems with my bowels. The consistency of it changed, I'm just going to say. I had those issues. I had the issue going on. Again, I do not feel comfortable sharing, so I'm not going to share. But I had issues with my bowels and something going on with that, which was foreign to me going on with. And looking back, I do not want to have to watch anything that I put out that I am uncomfortable watching. Because I don't want to cringe at my own content. Well, if I revealed every detail of this, I would feel very uncomfortable watching, and you'd probably feel the same way. So I'm not going to do that. Because I want to draw the line here. So, problems with my bowels, basically. And I went to see a doctor about it on December 5th, 6th. And he said, get on some solid foods. Or, get on mild foods. Soft foods, applesauce, whatever those kind of foods are. That's what he suggested. At the time, they did not know what it was. Okay. Okay. Bear with me. It was coming out in a... Here it is. In a liquid form. And it was very, very foreign because, I was going a lot and, whatever. And it was a lot. It was abnormal. And they thought that it was something that I will not name on this podcast. But...
Sure, get your water, okay?
So, you're here for what you came for. You're here for what you came for. You clicked on it, you invested, you're here. So, Um, what was I saying? Well, I'm going through the story, and this is kind of the unpleasant, uncomfortable part of the story. I'm trying not to say anything that I would cringe at watching, if I were to watch myself. And I don't want you to think, ooh, why is this person revealing all this stuff? I have to be real about this because there is some kind of graphic details that I'm going to try to cover up as best I can. Okay. So, this is what they thought. Oh, and it was very, very tough. And plus, my computer wasn't functioning normally. The charger was not working at the time. I couldn't. The charger just went down so quickly, and now I have a new battery and everything. So that was fixed. So that's fixed now. Thank goodness, because I use it all the time, and I have things that I watch off of it. So that good timing on that. Good time to get that fixed. But that was very, very tough. Very, very tough month. Very, very rough. And for those who followed me back then, you may have noticed that I didn't post a whole lot of videos because it was rough. So, um, okay. Now, what happened? Trying to think my memories of this. The middle of December, from I want to say the 11th of the month to the 19th, was a rough several days because my stomach was out of whack. My whole system was out of whack. And things didn't settle well on my stomach. And as a result, fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. So that was very, very, very rough. And my gut was out of whack. Very, very out of whack. And those were dark days. And I do not want that to repeat in my life. I do not want that whole experience of that whole month to repeat again. So, I think my stomach was giving me cramps, and the whole month that I was tired with, very, very fatigued, very low energy, sleeping a lot of the day. So like in the morning I'd go to sleep for hours. All I wanted to do was lay in bed. I didn't want, I just had no motivation to do anything. I made an update video announcing that I would leave YouTube, and of course, I have no intention of doing that anytime soon now. So, things changed, and I'm going to get into that. This is the point of this podcast, is to get into the story of how I just transformed from December to January. Like, I'm a very, very different person than I was in December. Very, very different. I have changed so much in recent months. So, I was, fatigued in the middle of the month. That was very, very rough. And not only that, the doctor suggested that I get on a bland diet. Just like not eating a whole lot of things with spice. Of course, now the diet that I'm on now is not, like normal, but it's more limited, more open than that. And it's not a bland diet. And I don't feel very limited by this diet. It's pretty open-ended. So that was just false. Now, I'm just going to tell you this right now. The doctors got it wrong. They thought that because it was in a liquid consistency, that there was this problem. But it was actually a chronic problem inside my gut where we're just going around it and not getting it out. That's what it was. So, December 13th was a very, very, very rough day. Very rough. I had to go to the hospital because of unpleasantness. Something unpleasant happened. I'm not going to even name what that unpleasant thing is. But so I went there, got an IV very, very early in the morning. I was very, very tired, and all that I wanted to do was lay down. I wasn't comfortable at all. It was just so, didn't want to be there, but I had to be there. Then the doctor came in when I got in there and basically told me, I guess what was going on. I mean, the details are not clear in my head right now of what happened. But, we talked, and I had chronic issue with constipation. I've been having, throughout my whole life, I've had issues with this. This is my bodily handicap. This is my bodily issue, is my constipation and going to the restroom. That's my whole issue in life. And I've struggled with that. And now I think I'm in a better place with it, but I was very, very chronically ill that month with my gut. So I had a CAT scan. The doctor gave me, I had to be on this concentrate that I had to drink, which was, I never want to drink that stuff again. And I couldn't even get it down. It didn't settle. It came up. I couldn't get it down. So they added, Sprite to it, soda. And that helped me get it down. But so, what happened was that happened, and the doctor cleared me that day, and she said, you can have anything you want as long as it's not like greasy fast food. And it was like, all that I wanted to do was have water and Jell-O. It's the only thing that appealed to me back then, at that time. Because I was just so sick, and I was like, great, now you're telling me this, and I don't feel so good to have anything that I want. So, I know, December 16th, December 17th, very rough days, very rough 2 days. And I actually dreamt about this, so I'm kind of telling this dream that this was repeating, and this December needs to be better than last December. I've very, very high expectations that this December is going to be a better, and the Christmas is going to be a better Christmas. So I'm just going to jump right to Christmas. I had got some tests. I was waiting for the results. Christmas came. I couldn't taste my food. I couldn't taste my food properly. I could taste it, but it didn't taste very good. my taste buds were off for the first time in my life, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is, with my Mercury and Taurus, North and Taurus, this is, no, don't like this. I don't like not being able to taste things normally. So I noticed it, and I overindulged at Christmas like you would do, instead of, being careful with my diet, because it was Christmas and I wasn't gonna stop it. My birthday's coming up, so I will indulge the way that I want to with that, because it is my birthday, and I will do what I wish to when it comes to my eating with that. So overdid it. Well, I was aware of that, and I intentionally tried not to. My grandma came, and she came for the first time in many years, coming down to see us for Christmas. The very first thing that she noticed was that I had a fever. As soon as she came, I had a fever, and so, so she came, and we had Christmas dinner and everything like that. I couldn't taste my food and everything, and there was some good things about that Christmas. I got several things that I liked for Christmas, so there was some good things about it, but it was a rough period. Things were unresolved at that point. December 27th, I had another fever, and it was very, very bad. This time it was very hot, running a very, very high temperature. And I needed to go to the hospital the next day. It's kind of like, we'll see how it goes the next day, and if you're still having it, we're going to the hospital. I was like, oh, I don't want to go to the hospital, no. I didn't want to do that. And so, regardless, this issue was very, very huge with my bowels and my gut, and it was not resolved in my appearance, and I wanted to get to the bottom of what was actually going on and solve this thing once and for all. And thank goodness that we went when we did, because if I would have waited several more days or a week, I would be probably in a worse place with my body. We got there at a good time. We got to that hospital at a good time. At the proper time, before things got majorly worse with this. So the morning of December 28th, we went to the hospital, got an IV again, sat down, and the wait was forever. We sat there for 2-3 hours waiting. And during that time, I had a dinner. Like, I had minestrone soup, not something too, upsetting to my system. But it was a long wait, and I was very, like, oh my gosh, emergency rooms. And if we would have waited a few more days, we probably not get a room, or probably it would take a way longer of a time than it did. And I was getting very, very restless, very frustrated, and I was just wanted to go home. I just want to get this thing over with and go home as soon as possible. So that happened. We sat there waiting, and we got to the triage room, and the bed was very, very uncomfortable. It was comfortable, and my poor mom had to sleep between two chairs. Like one chair had to be, leaning her head against that, and then the other chair, her feet would be up there. So, I mean, it was rough for her, and I just cannot imagine all the stress and all the anxiety and all the worry that she had at the time. And I was under a lot of stress and anxiety as well, so so we slept that night. The hospital room wasn't ready yet. We met a doctor. I'm not going to go into the names of the doctors like I did on that video. I listed out the characters like a story. I'm not going to do that anymore because I don't list names, but a doctor came. One doctor came. And I don't remember the doctor's name, so there you go. But he came in and basically told me what was going on. There was another doctor that came in that did all the kind of told me what was going on. It was a whole couple of days in December 29th, 30th were the days when I was in that triage room. And okay, I had to have something very, very unpleasant. That I do not wish to have again. When you're in the hospital, when it comes to going to the restroom and getting stuff out. And then I got it out, eventually on a, commode that was bedside. So that was very, very rough couple of days. Moving into kind of the end of December, I went to the hospital room, got on a liquid diet, ate Italian ices, Jello. Then I got on a full liquid diet where I got to have soup. And their options were so limited. And they pushed me too fast. They pushed me too fast on that diet. I was eating, I was getting to solids. Okay, so this doctor came in. And he was like, oh, you can have whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's fine. And you're fine. Like, it's like, and it was a recipe for disaster. I got on the diet way too fast, and they made a mistake the first time around. They made a mistake. They absolutely made a critical mistake in pushing me too fast with the diet. Now, all throughout that time, I was watching cooking shows, and that helped a lot. That got me through it. I had Discovery Plus open. I had PBS open. I had all these, things I have it on my computer. I'm not going to go through them all. But all these streaming services to watch cooking shows off of, which I want to get back to watching cooking shows off of the streaming services. What's happened to that? So that got me through. That pulled me through. If I didn't have my computer and my phone, oh my gosh, unimaginable. Because it was a very rough 2 weeks of being in the hospital. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I was in there. And I was in there for that long because I was first on the diet too fast. And then, like, I was eating, all this, mac and cheese. I was eating all this stuff. I was eating pancakes for breakfast with high fructose corn syrup as the syrup. And the diet that I'm on, the low-FODMAP milk diet, you're not supposed to have, high fructose stuff. Or, lactose-free stuff, gluten-free stuff. So, what was I saying? So the morning of, trying to think, what day was it? January 6th, if I'm getting it right. January 6th. The days just went on and on. I was inside for a lot of days, and I just lost track of the days. I was in there so long, I lost track of what day it was. Didn't know if it was January 8th or January 11th, or I just lost track. So then this one doctor came in, this new doctor, who was kind of a French doctor. He kind of seemed a little bit Asian to me. He kind of seemed a little bit, like he was French. Kind of had a French background, from somewhere, not America. But, I was in good spirits that day. I thought I was going home that day. January 5th, January 6th, one day or the other. Somewhere around there. I thought that I was going to be going home because I thought that I was all healed. However, during that hospital experience, I was bloated. I felt, and here's the problem that I was so frustrated with. I couldn't get the gas out of my system. I couldn't get it out. It just stayed in there and it wouldn't come out. And I think the night before, a couple nights before, I felt inflated. I felt like a balloon that was just about to pop. And I was so uncomfortable and I couldn't get it out. It was just stuck in there. Imagine not being able to get it out and it's just stuck and it's just you're expanding and it's not deflating where you can get it out. Oh my gosh, I never want to experience that again. I had several x-rays during that whole hospital experience, and that morning when I had the x-ray, I knew something was wrong. I just had this bad feeling as I felt bloated as heck going into that x-ray. It was like, I'm a little bit unsure if I'm fit to, be going home now, and I don't know. I don't think I'm very, very well. And so the doctor said, well, you handled it as well as you did. That kind of said a problem. Like when I go to Mayo in, April, I am praying that they do not say, oh, well, you've been feeling this good and there's a problem with that. It's like all this good feeling and you're suddenly raining on my parade and saying that I should have been feeling worse. I hope that when I go to Mayo, they will not rain on this parade of goodness that I have been living in my life. I will not allow them to get to me and suck my energy down to where all this was a waste, and I cannot have that. I know myself too well at this point. I'm in my identity too well at this point. I can't do that. And of course, I'll probably be coming on here again to talk about the whole experience when I get back. So, good thing I'm doing this now before I go there. And if you're not familiar with Mayo, it's this institution in America that's, it's a clinic, very professionally done, very skilled, have expert technology and expert care. I'm going to be going there for some testing for a week to see what, some problems are. There's going to be some tests that I'm nervous about that, hopefully they will accommodate for, the anxieties that I have about those tests. And I'll be in a hotel room, which I am praying that I will be able to use the restroom in that hotel room. Because whenever I go on vacation, I'm just constipated. I am praying. Of course, the whole thing is going to be about that, so I'll probably go quite a bit while I'm there, because that's the whole point. So I won't have to worry about it. But, when I'm there, I'll probably be updating my community tab, and I'll be updating my Instagram stories and doing all that. I'm listening to the podcasts that I record. I'll download several podcasts, and I'll, be really, the silver lining to that is I will be having more time to just listen to things instead of just produce all the time. So, but I will film the videos, before going there, and schedule them out on my channel. Well, I'm debating whether I'll schedule them. I may just publish them. I may just publish them right then and there. Because I want to download the episodes on Spotify to listen to, and I want to publish both places at the same time, so I may just publish those beforehand, and you'll get them early. So, the Uranus and Gemini video I'll do early, and yeah, so, and everything like that, and whatever else I decide to do, probably by that time I'll be at Jupiter and Pisces, or, Saturn and Aries at that point with my filming of the planets through the sign. So anyway, I went into this with a very bad feeling that something was going to go very, very well. I just had a bad feeling about it, because I just was feeling so bloated, and as a result, I was expanded out. I was stretched out. I think 17 centimeters in my stomach, which you're not supposed to be, above 11 or 12, and I was above that point. So I could feel it. I just was bloated up. This doctor didn't do his due diligence when he came into that hospital room, and he said, "You're good to go. You can go home." And you know what he did? That was irresponsible. That wasn't right. Is he didn't even look at the x-ray. He didn't even take a look at the x-ray before saying that. And so he had all this confidence that I was going to be going home. I had all this confidence that I was going to be home, and then going to be home, and then later he came in and go, "Oh no, there's this problem, and oh no, this doesn't." He was coming in and he was like, "Oh no, this doesn't look very good." Well, he said something along those lines, and I was like, "Oh no, oh no." So I broke down. I was crying, but without without tears. I was just distraught, and I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I was, in grief, and I thought that I was going to be going home. But this nightmare of an experience was not over just yet. It was about to move into a whole new part till the middle of January. So I had to go in for another colonoscopy. I didn't have to have any. Oh my gosh. If I had to have a liquid to clear myself out, unimaginable. I could not have that liquid. I could not have that concentrate. I would not be able to handle that at all. I would not have the mental, resilience, and the mental state of being, and the physical state of being, to be able to handle that. So I had a colonoscopy back in December. Had it again. They had to go in for another surgery. Put me to sleep for it. I woke up. And this time I didn't have a thing on my leg, or whatever they had to put on me. But this time they basically said that for the first day you couldn't have anything. No food, no drink, no water, no anything. Nothing. I couldn't have anything. And in anger, I actually drank some water, because I was just so furious that I was in this situation. I just wanted to do it anyway because, darn it, I wanted to do something and I just did it. And then, my dad was there because my mom had COVID and she was sick and she had to go home for that. I remember walking around the ward, which I did that several times. I did a lot of walks around there while I was there because I had to exercise. And I just was like, if this is not solved this time, and if this happens again, I will go home. It's like, I will not go through this again. This is the last time. If I should end up in a worse situation, I am going home because against medical allowance and advice, because my mental state was so fragile. And my patience was running very, very thin. Very thin. So, so the second day, there was a godsend that was sent to me. And that was something that I did not expect at all. A doctor came into the room, and she wanted to talk to me about something that I would be having, and she would be saying something like, we're going to put an IV in your arm or something like that. And I just got all freaked out. And then she said, listen to me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to hear you out. And then she explained, because another detail is I was getting poked during this whole... there's so much to talk about here. I was getting poked because I had to have my blood drawn over and over. And it was like I was just always anxious, because I had to do it several times a day and get my blood drawn several times a day. And I was just anxious for the next time because it hurt, and what was frustrating is that they did it and then there was no blood to come out of it, and they had to poke in another area, and it's like all for naught, all that pain for naught. But she said here, once we put this IV in, no more pokes. Just they would extract the blood out without having to poke me. And with that, I went in willingly, and it was kind of an uncomfortable process to put that in, but once I got it in, it was fine. And I was on a I can't remember the name of it. What was I on? I was on an IV. I was on some kind of thing that would give me nutrients, that would get my something up. I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. I can't think of all these details of what it was. But had got on this liquid diet for a long time. I was on the clear liquid diet for a long time. Only Jello, only liquid, broth, liquid, just beef broth, chicken broth, which I didn't have any at the time because I was sick of it. And Italian ice, some kind of drink, I don't remember what it was, for a long time. And that got very monotonous, and I was like, fed up. I wanted to be on solid food so bad because I was on it so quickly for the first time. It's like, why couldn't you have done it right the first time? Why couldn't you have done the thing once and had it been over with, instead of having to go in again and then do it again? Sorry about that. This is a long story. I apologize. Probably nobody's watching this, but I take my time with these. So that happened. I was on this diet for several days, and several more days. I could just, whenever the lady would come in to ask for dinner, at lunch, I would be like, oh, not again. Can I just please get on the solid diet? And it was for very limited, like pureed chicken noodle soup. And of course, I was watching all these cooking shows, and I was enticed to eat all this food, and I couldn't eat it. I could. Like, it's just so ironic why I was doing what I was doing, but I thought I was into it at the time, and I did it, and I also watched history documentaries at the time, and started that. So, and I want to get back to where I was when I got to the hospital, of course, in a different place now. But anyway, okay. So, what was I saying? Got on this diet. Finally, when I could get on solids, it was like, wow, I can finally eat solids again. It was truly an hallelujah moment. And my mindset, I think January 13th or 12th or something like that, somewhere in there, changed and got drastically better, starting at that point when I got on the solid diet. I ate very, very small portions at first, but my frame of mind was much better. I was beginning to feel better mentally and physically. Like my mental health was really, really getting better. And so that was when I was seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And, seeing hope. Really feeling the hope coming back. So I was on that diet. Several more days passed. And then I could go home. And I had all these medications that I was having, like all these medications. I had a suppository. I had all this stuff, and I'm not on the suppository now, thank goodness. But because it's not sustainable for the long term. But anyway, just contemplating this. As I'm going through this, I'm just mentally thinking through this. What was I saying? So, the doctor, there were several doctors that came in, and nutritionists, all those, or several doctors that just had such an optimistic attitude. I was eating more normally, my appetite was better, and I could taste food again properly, and and all that needed to happen was going to the restroom properly and going home January 16th. And I filmed a little video in the hospital, which I didn't film it. I wish I updated my community tab, which got a lot of views. I'm surprised by. I was in there and I just filmed a video saying I would be coming back to film an update video. That's all I was doing. I could have just done a post. I wish I did a post with that. I wish I did a community post. That would have been the proper thing to do, but I wasn't thinking clearly. I was just so happy. So happy. So I had the music on Spotify Premium that I just got Spotify Premium to listen to. I had all these streaming services that I was watching, which was helped. I bought several things, so I looked into Goodreads and books again, and so got into that. I'm going to get back into that. I plan to. So, the light was returning, and my interests were changing. Like, I was no longer interested solely on oracle cards and astrology at that time. Of course, I'm back into astrology now, full on and genuinely. But at the time, I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in cooking shows and cooking history. Basically, that was it. When I was in the hospital, that was what I was into, and I got through that. And then January 16th came, and also, I should say, we were planning to go to Mayo. However, there were no beds available because it was packed. So instead of sitting there waiting forever to go, one of the doctors came in and said, well, it's better to go in. If you're not really having any major problems, then they're not going to want you in. If you're really sick, then then you need to go in to Mayo. So what happened was, so I'm coming in as an outpatient, basically, for that. We have to schedule like several months into advance. So I got the schedule figured out back in January when I got home. So I got home, filmed videos on my channel, got back into that, and I was feeling very, very good. I was very, very balanced. I started cooking with the Lo-Fi Nut Cookbook. I started pursuing all these interests, doing all these things. Yeah, that's kind of where story leaves off. I think I covered every detail that I can think of to cover with this. From the moment that I entered this hospital to the moment that I left, I was a completely different person. I went from so low about my life, so depressed, like all the 3.5 years of feeling depressed and down in the dumps with all the regrets of deleting videos, channel surfing, those were basically the regrets that I had. And before, in December, I had to be on a brat diet, which was tough. But yeah, December was rough, and I was very, very down in the dumps, and I was in a very bad place mentally and physically. And then I had a reset. And this hospital experience changed my life. It changed my perspective. Like, it's amazing what hospital experiences can do for a long time that can change your perspective on life. Like, this changed my perspective on life. I felt so much better about life after coming out of this hospital. Yes, it was rough, and yes, I would never want to experience it again. However, this experience really impacted me in very, very positive ways. I had time to reflect on my interests and what I wanted to do and on life, and I felt so much better. I had all these new interests now that I was coming out of my interest change. I was feeling in a better place. I had a reset. This whole experience, with how difficult and monotonous and long and frustrating and devastating it was a reset for me. This was the great reset. And when I got home, I felt so like in such a better mental place. And I am living a better life right now than I have lived in the past 3 years of my life. Not getting caught in OCD, not getting caught in depression. Living a better life, much better life. And I do not want this to end anytime soon. I will not stop what I'm doing anytime soon. I went from not a very, very strong will to live to a very strong will to live. I just don't want the day to end. I just can't wait until the next day. Can't wait to go out and make things happen and live my days to the fullest and um and enjoy what I can in my life. And now I can because I'm feeling better mentally and physically. And this experience is going to help fix the bigger long-term issue that I have, which is only going to make it better than it already is. And I hope that I do not look back on this podcast that I am consciously recording now and go, oh, I felt so good at the time, but now I'm feeling so worse now with all this new information, all the, about my bells and colon. I just hope that it's not going to just be so much worse by the time I get out of this experience. Otherwise, I will talk about it, and I will be real about it. I'm just praying that this is an easy experience and that this goes well. I'm just praying it goes well. And speaking of which, I'm going to drink some water while I'm thinking of it now. Because I need to drink it more consistently in order to go to the restroom. So, this experience was a reset. It was a new beginning. And it brought me back to life. It put the zest for life, the motivation for life back into me. That's what this experience did. I went through a cocoon. I was a caterpillar, I went through a cocoon, and then I emerged as a butterfly. I mean, yes, I had my problems with, I wasn't normal, I was on a FODMAP diet, my system wasn't, normal, but I emerged as a butterfly. I was so much better by the time, physically and mentally, by the time I entered the hospital to the point that I ended. And so, I wanted to make this video as an official video about this in my Real Me podcast about this. So this is video 2.0 of that hospital experience. I just when I made that hospital experience video way back a month ago or weeks ago, it was getting long and I was, I just couldn't go on talking because I was exhausted and it would be just too much to talk about. But this requires a separate thing because it's a lot. A lot happened within those 2 weeks. I was there. The whole month of December. That was a bad month. Very, very bad month. And I never want to experience that again in my life. If I can help it. So yeah, that's all that I have to say. That's my long, confessional of what I have to say about this. And I'm going to move on through my days with the happiness that I have now. Now, yes, I still regret the things I did in the past. Yes, I still remember and still kind of feel that regret at times, and I still probably will. But I'm not so intense into it now. Like, I was so caught in it. I couldn't see a way out of it. And the advice I have to give to myself at the time throughout those 3 years was, give it time. Give it time. It is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. Don't expect to feel just suddenly better. Just go through life the best you can, find what you can to occupy yourself while you can, and just ride the wave. Let the regret sit there. You can't change it. You can't fight it. Let it be there and just live it. And do what you can to just live in the now. Do what you can to occupy yourself. Find something that you enjoy doing. Do what you can while you're in the regret. But someday, this too shall pass. Someday you will not be in this regret. It's the advice I have for my past self, the past 3 years of my life. 2020, middle of 2022 to the end of 2025. So now I'm on the other side of all that, and on the other side of this hospital experience, and so I've transformed, I've grown, and I think this is a very, very important episode to put in my Real Me podcast, because this is who I really am, the real me, and I am a different person than I was back then. So, I wanted to get around to filming this. I just was busy with all the other stuff today. So now I'm getting around to doing this. And I'm going to post this in my podcast. And I hope I covered up all the unpleasant, gory details of this experience. I think I did. And I didn't name names. So that's good. I was able to say it fully, with what it was, without having to name names and going out into too specifics to revealing that I would be cringing upon. So, that's great. Alright, that's all. I'll see you on the next episode of the Real Me podcast.